Welcome to a Halloween special edition of In the Kitchen with Chef Ben. Today, we are going to be making one of my favorite things to eat on Halloween, and that is fingers. Fingers are very easy to make, and they are so delicious. Now, all we need to do is find some fingers.
Oh, hey, Teacher Zach.
Hi, Teacher Ben.
I just
Hi.
need some fingers for some cooking I'm gonna do.
Fingers? Fingers? No.
Give me the fingers.
Wait. Library. Shoes off. Okay.
Okay, now we just need to cut off Teacher Zach's fingers for our tasty Halloween snack. So, put down some paper towels. Might get a little messy. Make sure you have a nice sharp knife. And, of course, we need, all right, Teacher Zach, put your hand here. Now we're gonna start with finger number 1. Okay, we're gonna cut right about here. Okay, so be good. Try to make it smooth. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now we have 3 fingers. Let's move on to the other hand. Okay, we're not really gonna eat fingers for Halloween, but we are going to be making some cookies. Some cookies that are going to look like fingers. Let's begin. Okay, step 1. Here are the fingers we want to make our cookies look like. You can see they're green. They have a little fingernail on the end. Okay, so we need to start with our cookie dough. This is our cookie dough I made yesterday, and I kept it cool in the fridge overnight. Now we're going to need to make that cookie dough green. So we're going to use a food color to make this dough green. And here is what our green food color looks like. So now I'm going to mix this dough with our green food color so that we can have green witch finger cookies. First, before you work with any food, make sure your hands are clean. For this step, we're going to need 1 big bowl. And we're going to need our cookie dough. And we're going to add a couple drops. You don't need a lot of food color into our cookie dough. And that's about 5 drops. Now I'm going to mix it in. Okay, after mixing in the green food coloring, now I have a green ball of cookie dough. Very good. But the next step is we need to put our cookie dough back into the refrigerator to keep it nice and cold. When making cookies, you always want to work with a cold cookie dough. So this is going back into the fridge. Now, our next step to make our cookies look like witch fingers is we need the fingernail. Okay, so for this we're going to use some nuts. In this step we're going to need some different things. 2 are right here. We have our cutting board and a knife. Next we're going to need the nuts. Here I'm using some mixed nuts, but I'm only going to use 1. If you can see, it's right here. Almonds. So I'm going to get out some almonds. Here's what an almond looks like. You can see it looks like the end of our witch finger. So that's going to work really good for us today. Now remember, when we are cutting, we need to be very careful. And for this, you're going to have to work pretty close. So here, let's go in a little closer. We need to cut these in half. So the best way is to put the nut between your fingers and then slowly work the knife down. Pull it away. Great. Now look, we have 2 fingernails for our cookies, and these are going to work really well. For this recipe, we're going to be making about 30 fingers. That means you're going to need to cut 15 almonds in half. Let's begin. Okay, I have my almonds all cut. Now it's time to assemble our cookies. Okay, here is our cookie dough after it's rested in the fridge. Now, we're going to want to work in small pieces. You always want to keep your cookie dough cold. That way, the butter doesn't start to melt. So you take a small piece, and now we're going to make it into a finger. So you can take a piece of wax paper, start to roll out our cookie. Every shape doesn't need to be the same. We're just looking for a finger-shaped cookie. So we're getting close. Let's make it a little longer. Okay, that should work pretty good. Now let's push in the end. This will be the end of our finger. And you can see there's kind of some joints on our fingers. 1, 2. So we have some sections that we need to push. So let's make one here. 1, 2. I'm going to press down the top, make it a little more round. Okay, now let's move on to the next step. We're going to try to make our cookie finger look like our finger. Okay, so this will be the top. This is where we're going to push in to have our fingernail. And here we're going to set in our almond. Now we just need to make this finger look kind of like our finger. You can do that by taking a knife and making some small cuts. These cuts will make the finger look more like a real finger. Good. So here is our finished cookie. Now you just need to repeat this step with the rest of our cookie dough. Make sure while you're working to only work in small pieces and keep the rest of your dough in the fridge. Okay. We have our first batch of finger cookies ready. Now, we're going to take these cookies and we're going to bake them. So we're going to set the oven at 165 degrees Celsius and bake the cookies for about 20 minutes, 20 to 25. Be sure to check on them every now and then just to make sure they don't burn. Okay, let's bake our cookies. While we wait for our cookies to bake in the oven, we need to finish the last step. Now, this last step is going to be making some blood. Now for this, you're going to need some jam. Today I'm going to be using some strawberry jam. And I'm going to make the jam look a little more red with some red food coloring. Just like what we use for the cookie. Here's the green that we use for the cookies. Now we have a red for the blood. So I'll take a small bowl and I'll spoon some jam into the bowl. We are going to be dipping our fingers into the jam once the cookies are cooked and cooled. So you can see this is red, but it's not red enough for blood. So let's add some red food coloring. We'll just give this a good mix. Good, we can see it's starting to turn more red already. This will make our cookies look even more like they were just cut off. We can let this sit while we wait for our cookies to finish. Our cookies are finished. They're out of the oven. Here we can take a look. And we can see, here is our toy witch finger. Here is our cookie witch finger. You can see they became much bigger in the oven. But that's okay, it's just more cookie to eat. They're nice and golden brown on the bottom. And as you can see, our almonds, or our fingernails, they fell off while they were baking. So, it's time to decorate our cookies. So we need to get out our blood. And I'm going to use a paintbrush. Make sure your paintbrush is nice and clean. I'm going to take a little bit of blood, put it on my cookie, where my fingernail should be. This will help act as something sticky to keep our almond on our cookie. So now you can just take your almond, press it on. Now it looks kind of creepy too. Now you can see there are some cracks in our cookie. That's a chance you can add a little more blood to the finger if you want. You don't have to. And now the final step. We have our fingernail, our bloody cookie. Now we're going to take our cookie and add some blood to the bottom. Now that is what I call a creepy Halloween treat. You can eat these right away, or give them to a friend, give them to your family. But if you don't want to eat them right away, make sure to put them in the fridge. Until next time, this is In the Kitchen with Chef Ben, and I hope you enjoy our creepy Halloween cookie today. Please remember to take pictures if you want to make this recipe. I'll see you next time.